Good morning, Karen. It's lovely to be with you yet again. I feel like I just left. So we just spent the weekend together. I was lucky enough to be a participant in Karen McGregor, my guest today, Karen's 3-day live event called Rock the Stage. And I'll give you an opportunity to introduce what that's all about in a moment. And I was delighted to get connected with Karen because, as many of you know, I'm in the middle of actually almost finished writing my book, which working title is called Word Power. And it's really all about increasing the confidence for women by using powerful language. So it's specific words, word techniques that I've worked with my clients with over the past 10 years. And again, as some of you know, my background is working with human resources in senior roles for the last 20 years, and then the last 10 dedicated to coaching specifically for women. So thousands of conversations, hired and interviewed about 6,000 people in my career. And I've noticed quite a bit when it comes to language, when it comes to how that knits with our behavior. So I'm including in the book some psychology, some sales, language concepts, but it's really intended to help women have more powerful conversations so that they can flourish in business, whether it's their own business or whether it's working for a corporation as a leader, and to be able to engage and empower others, to be able to lead with integrity and delegate effectively, and all of those things that help us to be more successful in business and also get more sales. Which is why I'm so pleased that Karen could join me. So Karen McGregor, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Abbotsford, British Columbia, which is about 45 minutes from Vancouver.
Right. Lovely. So I met Karen, and as I said, I was excited to have a chance to work with her this weekend. So Karen is an international speaker, best-selling author, has been on many, many large stages, both her own and also working with individuals. You probably recognize the name, Deepak Chopra, Michael Beckwith, David Wolf, to name a few. So Karen, why don't you just spend a couple of minutes talking a little bit about your background and your success, and maybe a little bit about Rock the Stage.
Sure. Well, my story is not uncommon to many of us in the training field. Oh, I hear a little, can you hear that feedback, or is it just me, Yvonne?
Let me just try turning this off for a second. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we'll leave that off.
Let's try that.
Okay.
That sounds much better. Okay, so my story really is around having a lot of problems, and again, my thoughts, my words have a lot to do with it. But telling myself for many years that it was okay not to grow my business. I had young kids at the time and had a really hard time to be able to fill my workshops, to be able to speak with confidence. And I just kept telling myself different excuses for why I wouldn't step into my greatness. I wouldn't step into my power. And so I'm sure, in your book, there's a lot there, a lot of gems there to be able to help the women, because I think that is a critical piece of our success, is that stepping into our power and using the language to do so. So eventually, after 7 years, really struggling and things like that, unfortunately, my husband and I separated and got divorced. But on the day that he moved out, I clearly remember his moving truck backing out of the driveway. And it was such a moment of, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Our lives are changing forever. My kids are behind me quietly playing. And I just thought, what is my next step? Because I'm not treating my business as a business. Mm-hmm. I am playing small and keeping it as a hobby. So long story short, I ended up actually having an opportunity to speak in front of a very large group. So that was synchronistic and the timing was perfect. But at the time, because of, as you say, the words, how I was thinking about things, I just thought, well, I just need to play with the big boys and be a really good speaker, when in fact what I needed was a lot of business support in terms of the structure of my talk and how that would develop and sustain my business and the core offerings that I offered and so forth. So I didn't really have any of that in place. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, the 3,000 people, it was wonderful. They told me how beautiful the talk was, but it didn't get any results in terms of my business. So it was heartbreaking because I didn't know what I was going to do next. And so I just made really a commitment, and I chose very careful words. I even said to my kids, our lives are going to change forever. And I meant it because I knew, as many of you out there know, you have many skill sets, you're very talented, but maybe you have pieces missing to the puzzle. Yeah. And so that piece, that business piece, learning the systems is what I needed. And so I made the commitment and told my kids, our lives are going to change forever. And really, that was the moment that everything shifted. And I went from being really at the poverty line here, it's very expensive to live in Vancouver, mm-hmm. to now earning over $500,000 in a year and taking, a few months off a year. So I don't work all year round. Yeah. So it's beautiful, but I really, from what you're sharing, when I look back, I think that to declare in powerful words that I am going to make this shift, and that I know that someone out there can help me with that specific thing that I don't know anything about. You see, what hurt me, Yvonne, was the words, I know that already, I can figure it out, I'm smart, I don't need help. And then when I actually said, I am going to get the support that I need, I'm going to find the people that can help me, and I'm going to get the support. And I think those words are actually incredibly empowering. Yep. Because many women, and I know for myself, I've always wanted to do things by myself, on my own, and you get to a point where you just realize that life flows better. It's more enjoyable if we can ask for the support in a powerful way.
And asking for support, I think for women is such a big issue. And certainly when I'm listening to my clients talking, a lot of them who are small business owners, they've gotten into this state of overwhelm because they have been looking at their business and saying, well, no one can do this piece as well as I can do. I can't explain it and get someone else doing it fast enough, so it'd be quicker for me to just continue doing it myself. Or I don't think that the business has enough sustained income to actually bring somebody on board and pay for those services. And then they realize after a while that unless they change their mindset towards delegation, nothing is going to change in their business. It's not going to be able to grow. And certainly as a coach, I mean, obviously that's what I help people do. But it's about the internal self-talk first. So the I am statements. I know that you have a spiritual side. I have, as you know, Reiki as part of my tool set. And I am is such a powerful way to indicate to, I'm not religious, but I call it, spiritual, the universe, that I am ready, I'm feeling I'm ready for more, and please send it my way. And it's certainly been one of the key elements to powerful manifesting. And that's how I ended up at your event, because I had said earlier this year, I would like to do more speaking. The universe is blessing me with speaking gigs, so I'm going to learn how to do it really well. And a ticket to your event showed up just magically. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I'm curious, Karen, in your experience, either with your own story, or I know that you also have coaching clients, you run masterminds to teach people how to take the speaking element deeper.
Yes.
What would be maybe one or two words that you've seen that help elevate people to a new level of confidence? So one or two words that really stand out for you? Or word concept?
Yeah, I think it would be a phrase more than one single word.
Yeah.
And what you said about the I am is the most powerful starter for that. What I have people say when they're up there and worried about speaking is, you know, I am a powerful speaker. I am a woman who serves the world, you know, and then however you want to fill that in, but I'm a woman who serves the world with integrity and passion and power, you know, and reminding ourselves that we have the capacity to give in a big way, in the way that we want. So as another example, I transform lives. When I speak, I transform lives. And because many women want that for ourselves and for other people, again, but very short sentences. I find that if we go on and on, that's when our brain gets worried about the statement.
That's a great tip. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so the less words, the better. Yeah, because it really lands in our bodies and it makes us feel powerful. But as soon as we, you know, take 3 or 4 or 5 sentences to explain it, we're already getting worried and anxious, and our ego has more room to come in and play havoc, wreak havoc.
And I love what you're saying, because and it wasn't me that started talking about I am, it was you a minute ago. You started. I am.
Oh, there you go.
That was your brilliance. It is in the book too, already. However, certainly when I'm working as a coach, you know, one of the most powerful tools I have is silence. And I used to want to jump in because I've got a consulting background, so I've got lots of insights I could share. So I had to learn how to put my pen on my lip. And that was my signal, like, stop talking, Yvonne, and let the silence do the heavy lifting, and let the client really think about what it is that they're willing to take action on. So we were just talking about the concept of short sentences and the power that a shorter sentence has, and it's much like anything. Once it's condensed, I mean, when we're cooking, for example, if you make a really condensed sauce, it has much more flavor to it. And one of the things I learned in my early years in coaching, because I do come from a consulting background, so I had lots of wisdom and tips to share, but I learned that I had to keep my pen on my lip. And that was my signal to myself to not say anything, to actually stop talking, and to let the silence do the heavy lifting. Let my client really have a chance to think, without listening to me talking, about what it is that they were willing to change. And that's been so powerful. So sometimes no words are required is actually what I say in the book.
Yes, I totally agree. And in fact, one of the things that I share with people is that the idea of having sacred space is so important, because if you treat your silence or your spaciousness, even your environment, as really sacred, it doesn't have a lot of stuff, right? So there's not piles of paper and that kind of thing, but in your mind and what comes out of your mouth is also not cluttered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking a few minutes ago about language that helps to elevate our confidence. And it's also interesting to explore the words that you've, again, seen with your clients, or perhaps felt as you're, on stage in some of your early years, perhaps. What are some of the words that knock your confidence out of whack, knock your balance, have an impact on creating a negative mindset?
Well, definitely what comes to mind first is the word should. I should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I always say there's three types of talks every speaker does. It's the one before the talk, the actual talk, the day of, and then it's the one that you think in your head you should have done. So I would highly recommend to our listeners that you take that into consideration. Are you doing that to excess? Because if you find that you do it every day and you're finding the should have, could have, it really doesn't allow you to live in the present moment. And I think when you talk about powerful words, these words come from a place of present moment. We can talk about the past, we can talk about the future, but I think the most powerful expressions of ourselves come when we are fully present. So that's one thing. The second thing is I have struggled with this for a long time, and I think I'm almost out of that struggle, and that is to perceive my life as busy. Mm-hmm. And so I actually was challenged recently from a great spiritual leader, Caroline Mace, who was having a retreat in Vancouver. And she said to everyone, choose one word that you will eliminate from your vocabulary forever.
Love it.
You will never say it again. Now, of course, I'm saying it to give you the example, but my word was busy. Mm. And so whenever I want to share that with someone, I stop and I say, wow, my life is wonderfully full. Yes. I'm so grateful for all the people and opportunities that are coming to me. And, you know, the gratitude, instead of looking at a particular day or the circumstances as, because really what busy means is I cannot handle this. I don't have the capacity to do this much longer. You know, this is over and above what I want my life to look like. Yeah. And when we continually say that, we create that reality. And as you know, there's people who actually competitively fight about who's busier.
Like a badge of honor.
No. Exactly. It's become, especially in North America, it's become almost like a source of pride. And yet I know for sure that for me, it has done the most damage to my empowerment, to my positive mindset. And so, yes, I would have to say that is the one word. Now, just, you know, for other people, it might be overwhelm, might be the word that they always use. Yeah. It's not that, and interestingly enough, they are quite related. Yeah. And so that's another sort of word. Another one is tired. So even if you are physically tired, always saying it over and over and over, I think is creating a mindset of helplessness. Yeah. And I have done that one too in my 20s for about 10 years when I was a teacher. I taught high school English actually in my 20s. Yeah. And one of my friends actually would tease me and say, oh, I bet you're tired today, because I would say it so often that she knew what was going to come out of my mouth when she asked me how I was doing today.
Yeah, it's that powerful, just as I am, when you follow it with something, I am abundant, prosperous, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, I'm sick and tired. When I hear that, again, it's inviting it to come in, because the energy is the energy. It doesn't recognize. I know that the words have energy and words are powerful, but the psychology behind it, you're just inviting that in. So
yes, definitely.
I did have another guest recently who was talking about the word busy, and the word fat came up as well. women, right?
Yeah.
So there's certainly a few words, and what I'm actually doing in the book is putting, after we've explored the one word or that word concept, is putting a tip at the bottom, and there's going to be, similar concept to Michael Lozier's, the big T, where you put the positive and negative and compare them. I'm going to do a similar type of activity to look at alternate words. So,
fantastic.
When we talk about shoulding ourselves,
yes,
there's very much an obligatory tone to it. It's almost like I don't really want to do this, but I feel obligated to do it. Even making should into could just opens up a whole different energy of possibility, because then it's about choice. And that's one of the things I see over and over again in my female clients is women don't feel that they do actually have choice, especially when it comes to their calendar, saying no to things that they don't want to attend.
Yes.
They should attend, but they don't want to.
Yes.
And, so this is a great tie-in. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, I know we had a little bit of a hiccup with the recording, which hopefully won't show in the middle of this. Are you good for a few more minutes, though?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Awesome. So in terms of word concepts, we've looked at some positive, we've looked at some negative. I'm intrigued to also find out if there's maybe one set of circumstances where you wished you had said something different, and how did you manage to catch yourself in that moment to actually stay positive?
No, I don't have a particular thing that comes to mind. However, what I would love to share is something that I learned that's really powerful for when you want to catch yourself. And that is that trying to align with our values can be difficult. However, capturing our values in individual words, for me, has been really powerful. Whenever I'm about to say or do something, I always look at my top values and I say, is what I'm saying and doing actually aligned with those 3 words?
Yeah.
Right. And so just going to take this out. So because I really wanted to share this with everybody. So as an example, freedom is a word that's really important to me.
Me too.
You too.
Yeah.
Great. So everything that I do for others and for myself has to align with my individual meaning of freedom.
Right.
And when you say, saying something differently, I think getting back again to, is what I'm telling someone aligned with my value of freedom, or am I perhaps sharing with them that they have no choice to think for themselves? As an example, I have 2 teenage boys, and at times it's easy for me to just say, well, just do it this way. Or, I have people who work with me, and sometimes I do just want to say something without the idea that they have the freedom and the capacity to think for themselves and to get to that solution for themselves, instead of being, very almost like closing the doors and saying, I know the answer and you just follow me and everything will be okay. Now, at times we need to do that, but mostly we don't need to do that. Yeah. And so that's an example of, the words that I live by. I'm always challenging myself to see if they're aligning, with my conversation with people and what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on what you shared there. I had been invited this year to be a couple of times to be in a judging capacity, which was for different awards and different recognition. And one instance, we had to literally go back to the values of the organization to guide us in how we made the decision. And that was a very, very easy decision then to say, this is not working. This is in total integrity and alignment. It makes it so much easier. It is something that in my sort of 6,000 hires, one of the key things that I actually share with my clients is a values assessment, which is actually a free tool. It's not my tool. It's from Martin Seligman with the Happiness Institute. So there's a lot of powerful psychology, but a lot of research and credibility behind the tool. And it gives people, after a very short 10, 15-minute questionnaire, their top values, top 22 values in order. And it's a really useful tool, partly because if women are looking at working with some joint venture partners or aligning with some very large clients, looking at, how do my values align with the values of this company I'm going to spend so much time with and investing in a relationship with. And if we're not in alignment, I think, high quality and you think, things are kind of sloppy, we're going to bump heads very, very quickly. And it's not going to be a great long-term relationship. And for those individuals who, in my early coaching years, I did a lot of career coaching as well, who are looking for a new position. What are your values? Know those, state them in your introduction, in your objective, but look for companies that have that demonstrated alignment. It's not just listed on the website and stated behind the reception desk on a plaque, but they actually have processes, structures, systems. I know you're big on systems.
Yes.
That connect. Here's how we live those values as an organization. So that's a key piece. The other thing is I have a special needs son. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. He's 22 now. And I learned fairly early on that there were some things that were, as you say, non-negotiable. This is my decision, one of those being anything related to safety.
Yes.
He doesn't have good balance, so riding a bike was just a nightmare. Trying to get on a pair of skates, again, this is an accident waiting to happen. So he knows if it's something to do with safety, it's a non-negotiable. Yet it's so much easier to invite, particularly with kids, a conversation and asking them questions that will help lead them to the answer of how they're going to approach something. And then they're much more committed to doing it because it was their idea. And really, all we've done is guided the conversation to help them realize how independent they can be. And as part of, women in leadership, if we can learn those techniques and invite our team to think about how they're going to accomplish one particular outcome, there's so many more benefits to that than telling them this is what you need to do and this is all the micro steps that
yes,
how to do it. And again, they're much more creative. They draw on their own resources. They have interesting and challenging work then because it's fun for them. And as long as the outcome is clear, padded with some extra time in case they don't do things as fast as you think they're going to do it, it's so much more empowering. And then you're not becoming a bottleneck as a leader.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been really interesting. I'm so glad that you were able to connect with me and share some of your insights. And I love the way that you have put together your program, because it is very much in alignment with my values in terms of integrity, in terms of serving versus, any kind of sleazy sales pitch. I mean, it's all about and looking at, solutions in a whole different way. And I did also want to invite, I don't know if there's anything in particular that you're doing that if the listeners to this interview have liked what you've said, want to get to know you a little bit better, is there any suggestions on what they can do to continue to learn more about Karen McGregor?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm happy to offer a training that people can click on. It's a link and I can pass it on to you. It's called How to Triple Your Income Through Speaking. And it really helps people to create the systems in an integral way, know what to say, how to say it, so that you feel confident with speaking and selling, but you're actually not in that mode of sleazy salesman, or do I have to be manipulative, or do I have to say things I don't want to say? None of that. And in fact, everything we've talked about is aligned with this webinar training. Mm-hmm. So I really encourage people, if you're looking at speaking, but you're not sure, as Yvonne said, about the words, about how to create a real system around what you do in a way that aligns with your values, then I'd highly recommend watching it. Again, it's called How to Triple Your Income Through Speaking, and I'll give Yvonne the link for that.
That's lovely. What a gift. Thank you so much. That's very, very generous. And certainly from a language standpoint, I think that even though people, when I very often in workshops and events will say, who's in sales? And, half the room put their hands up. Well, we're all in some sort of capacity of wanting to connect with other people. And that's really what I see as the essence of sales. It's, here's my value, here's what you need. Do we connect? Do we fit? Can we support and serve each other? So even if it's women who are in inside organizations, they're not necessarily wanting to become speakers, but they have their own business. Everybody is in conversation with somebody, and there's an element of why are we having this conversation that I think, having been in your program this weekend, directly connects to the work that you do. So for anyone who's listening, certainly that's the reason we're doing these interviews, is leading up to my book launch, which is knitting together language, psychology, behavior, and the things that I believe are so critical to some of my clients' success, elevating their confidence and having more powerful conversations. So thank you, Karen, for that offer. That's lovely. I will make sure we include that when we air this. And just wanted to confirm that your permission to air this interview, that we had talked about that earlier.
Yes, absolutely.
Lovely. So the intention for the book launch is before Christmas this year. So we'll, just confirm those dates as I get the clear publishing date. And thank you so much again for your wisdom, your sharing, and your ideas, and your generosity in terms of offering that idea and that program for the listeners. So thank you again so much.
Thank you. Take care, Yvonne, and all the best. I'm looking forward to being at your book launch.
Yay! Have a lovely day. Thank you, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.